Welcome back to Charles I. Granatella Athletic Stadium on the campus of Don Bosco Prep High School, home of the Don Bosco Prep Ironmen, who today are taking on the Glen Ridge Ridgers in a matchup of two of the best lacrosse teams in the state of New Jersey. Just coming out of halftime right now and keeping up with their theme all day, Glen Ridge made it out into the field and was ready to go long before Don Bosco was. But the Ironmen right now have the advantage. They hold a 5-4 lead over Glen Ridge, thanks in large part to Riley O'Sullivan and John Andrew Spellanzani, who each had 2 goals in the first half. We're ready to go, and a procedure call gives the ball to Don Bosco to start it off, and that's Spellanzani with it. Brooks Rubino giving it behind the net to Connor Carroll. And now into the game quickly are Jack Gall and Riley O'Sullivan. These have been the two main point guys at the top of the zone for Don Bosco all day, and they're being defended by Marcus Cunningham and Jack DePhillips, 2 seniors for Glen Ridge. Gall trying to find his way past the net, but good defense by DePhillips, and number 9, Matt Larkin, wouldn't let him. Spellanzani gives it up to O'Sullivan, but he couldn't find the handle, and now we get a whistle from the referee, a push call, it appears, will allow Don Bosco to maintain possession here. And the first thing they do is get the ball to O'Sullivan. O'Sullivan to Gall, defended by Jack DePhillips, the senior midi. Gall trying to find his way past DePhillips, a spin move. Now finds an opening, but decides the angle wasn't good enough and passes it off. Now back to O'Sullivan and Spellanzani. Spellanzani fires one into the net for a goal. His 3rd of the day, and Don Bosco leads it 6-4. So the Ironmen increased their lead to 2 goals for the 3rd time today. Spellanzani's 3 goals matches his total that he had against the Christian brothers on March 30th, and what turned into an 11-5 Don Bosco Prep victory. Now Spellanzani fighting for the face-off and beats Patty McDermott for it, immediately racing into the zone, trying to increase the lead quickly here, but can't find what he likes and decides to slow it down a little bit. Rubino. Massey to number 12, Connor Carroll. And here is O'Sullivan and Jack Gall. Gall, a senior midfielder, who, as I mentioned earlier, will be heading to Hamilton College after the season. Here is Brooks Rubino. Connor Carroll now to O'Sullivan. And now coming in is Thomas Joyce. Joyce, a sophomore midfielder, also already seeing plenty of action for the Ironmen. Rubino. Don Bosco working it around slowly. Glen Ridge playing a really tight defense now around their goalie, Connor Duffus, the junior, who has made several fine saves today, but has not been able to stop some of Don Bosco's more recent attacks. Now here is number 20. Now here is, that was Joyce, who almost had an opportunity but decided against it. Don Bosco keeps working around. Gall fighting past his man, fires it towards the net, but just misses off to the left. Don Bosco Prep will maintain possession, but a scoring opportunity just missed there for the Ironmen, as they are trying to extend this to their biggest lead of the day. They've led by 2, as I mentioned, 3 times today. They've never increased it to 3. Joyce trying to do just that here, defended by number 4, Nathaniel John, a sophomore. So a sophomore defending a sophomore there. And now Don Bosco works it around to the top to O'Sullivan, defended by the senior defenseman Marcus Cunningham. Cunningham, as I mentioned, heading to Syracuse after the year, while O'Sullivan will be heading to North Carolina after next season, as he is only a junior. Now back to the top to Gall. Defended by McDermott, tries to fire towards the net, but a good save there by Duffus. And Duffus trying to start the offensive break. Gives it up to John. John bringing it up. Gives it to Cunningham. Cunningham looks like he has a lane. Pass, though, missed by D'Alessandro. And now the ball rolling free. Both players fighting for it. Rolling around behind the net. D'Alessandro picks it up again. Good checking, though, by Don Bosco. They're not letting him get free. The ball comes loose, and we have a call, a push by the ref. He will award possession back to Glen Ridge. Glen Ridge trailing this one 6-4. They've gotten 4 goals from 4 different players. Kevin O'Neill with the first one. Matt Larkin then scored. Ryan D'Alessandro and Jack DePhillips with the last goal for the Ridgers. Glen Ridge comes into this game 0-1, searching for their first victory of the season. But ever since leading 2-1 early in the game, Don Bosco has really controlled the action since then. DePhillips trying to fight against Thomas Joyce and trying to find an open lane, but can't. Good defense by Joyce. DePhillips still looking, gives it to Matt Larkin. Larkin, a junior midi for Glen Ridge. Defended by D'Alessandro. Now pass to Jackson Kinley, but the senior captain can't find the net with that shot. It rolls out of bounds, but DePhillips will bring it back in to the field of play for Glen Ridge. O'Neill. O'Neill working slowly. Good defense by Thomas Joyce. Now here's O'Neill trying to find a lane. Passes it, but the shot falls out of the net, falls out of the stick of Jake Schwern before he can get a shot off. And now Don Bosco moving in the other direction. And here comes O'Sullivan ready to take over the offense for Glen Ridge. And now injury. Looks like DePhillips is hurt as he limps off the field. And now Don Bosco almost with a man down opportunity here. But coming back in to quickly fill the spot that DePhillips left is Brandon Haynes, a senior midi. A long midi, obviously, for the Glen Ridge Ridgers. Now here comes Spellanzani into the game, but on the opposite side of the field is the ball. But Don Bosco quickly working it around, and this time gives it to Jack Gall. Gall defended by Matt Larkin. Larkin, a junior, defending Gall, a senior. Gall working his way past him, now gives it up to Spellanzani. Spellanzani has 3 goals already, but elects to give it up. The pass as they pass it around, but a bad pass there by number 18 Brooks Rubino. The senior attacker goes out of bounds, and Glen Ridge gets the ball. The Ridgers looking to clear it, and Matt Larkin will do just that as he brings it up into Don Bosco's defensive zone. Larkin defended by Michael Stappert. Good defense by Stappert. Good checking, and the ball comes loose. Both teams fighting for it. It looks like it's about to roll out of bounds, and it does. But a holding call on Don Bosco will render that irrelevant as Glen Ridge keeps possession. Only one penalty so far in this game, and resulted in a goal for Glen Ridge. Earlier, a slashing call got them a man up for 30 seconds, and they capitalized with a goal by Ryan D'Alessandro. Now coming in, looking for a goal. The shot by number 18, Jake Schwern, is stopped by Connor McCullough. Now Don Bosco looking to clear, and here is Pandice. Pandice, another senior defenseman, and he's also headed to play D1 lacrosse next year. He's going to UMass. As I mentioned, no shortage of college talent on both of these squads. And here are 2 of them. Jack Gall giving it, that's Thomas Joyce, my mistake. O'Sullivan with it at the top. O'Sullivan giving it to Rubino. Burks defended by Jack Topping, the junior defenseman. Now here's number 12, Connor Carroll. Joyce, defended by Michael Salvatelli. The senior defenseman trying to ward off the offensive player. Now Don Bosco back to passing it around. Looking for an opportunity. Don Bosco leads this one 6-4. You're watching New Jersey State Boys Lacrosse on NJ.ORG Varsity. And Don Bosco leads 6-4. Here comes Sullivan trying to get by Cunningham. Now Cunningham gets some help from Salvatelli. Now it's just Sullivan on Cunningham. Junior against senior. Sullivan getting a screen now, moving in. Nice move on Cunningham. Fires it, but a ball goes by the net and will roll out of bounds. Don Bosco maintains possession. Brooks Rubino with it. Middle of the 3rd quarter here at Charles I. Granatel Athletic Stadium in Ramsey, New Jersey. The Don Bosco Prep Ironmen facing off against the Glen Ridge Ridgers. Don Bosco with a 6-4 lead so far in this one. And Don Bosco's scoring has included 3 goals from John Andrew Spellanzani and 2 from Riley Sullivan. The only goal not scored by those 2 was scored by Jack Gall. And here is Gall trying to find his way towards the net, but the ball bounces over the net and over the head of goalie Connor Duffus and rolls out of bounds. Prep maintaining possession, though. And bringing it in is Connor Carroll. Spallanzani, as I mentioned already, with 3 goals to Sullivan already with 2. 6-4, Don Bosco leads this one, middle of the third quarter, as the lights have come on here at Charles I. Granatell Athletic Stadium, as darkness falls here in Ramsey, New Jersey. Spallanzani, now behind the net. Massey gives it to Carroll, who gives it to O'Sullivan, who gives it to Gall. Gall fighting his defender, has to pass up Spallanzani. Pass behind the net goes awry, rolls out of bounds as Spallanzani was trying to hit Connor Carroll, but couldn't, and as a result, Glen Ridge now has possession. Cunningham bringing it up, Don Bosco unable to prevent him passing, and a nice pass to DePhillips. DePhillips bringing it in, fighting against Michael Stappert. Now O'Neill with it. Schwern, the junior attacker, gives it to the senior midi, Jack DePhillips, as Glen Ridge sets up their offense for an opportunity to try and cut this lead to 1 goal. As I mentioned, Glen Ridge beat Don Bosco last year 9-7, but that was at Glen Ridge. This is a whole different ball game here in Ramsey on Don Bosco's, literally on their turf. Larkin now with it, working against Gall. Larkin, a nice move, but Gall not falling for it. Now gives it to the top. Pass to number 33, Jack DePhillips. The referee is not calling it a goal. They're saying a save by Kieran McCullough. That was darn close to going past over the line for a goal. Now that pass just over the head of number 32, Dan Johnson, as number 26, Chris Relkoff was trying to hit him with a pass, but it ends up in another offensive opportunity for Glen Ridge. Pass in front of the net to O'Neill. O'Neill grabs it, but good defense there by Greg Pandice, showing you why he's got a Division I offer waiting for him at UMass. DePhillips now against DeLisandro. Phillips thought about going in back. Said, no, great move. Fires it, bounces it over the net, though, as good defense by Don Bosco made up for what looked like a great move and a sure goal there by DePhillips. But instead, Glen Ridge will only have another opportunity. A pass there, a little bit too much for Jackson Kinley as it goes off of his stick. And now picked up by Don Bosco. Pass ahead. Carroll bringing it in, looking for an opportunity, but instead he'll just sit back and wait for Don Bosco to get ready, get their offense ready, and get their best players onto the field for this scoring opportunity. And here comes one of them. That's number 22, Jack Gall, into the game. Already has 1 goal. Bosco passing it around. O'Sullivan with it behind the net, which is the first time he's been in that position all day long. Here is Russell Massey. 6-4 Don Bosco prep. The Ironmen leading the Ridgers here in Ramsey, New Jersey. You're watching New Jersey State Boys Lacrosse on NJ.ORG Varsity. Gall with it again, defended by Matt Larkin. Larkin behind the net. Tight defense by Glen Ridge. They didn't want this lead to get any bigger than it already is, or this deficit, I should say, from their perspective. O'Sullivan with it now. Good defense, though. Quick defense by Chris Bronander, the senior defenseman, kept him from having a lane to shoot the ball. Late in the third quarter here on the campus of Don Bosco Prep High School. The Ironmen leading 6-4. Here comes Gall trying to find open space. Good defense, though, by 2 Glen Ridge players. Now Gall fires it towards the net. It looked like it went in. Looked like it hit Twine. But the referee saying no, and now we get a whistle. And that will be the end of the third quarter. That looked like a goal there by Gall as he fought past both number 21 Brandon Haynes and Matt Larkin, but the referee saying it didn't find the net, and as a result, Don Bosco's lead remains 6-4 as we go to the fourth quarter. Once again, you're watching New Jersey State Boys Lacrosse on NJ.ORG Varsity. We are back here at Charles I. Granito Athletic Stadium on the campus of Don Bosco Prep High School as the Don Bosco Prep Ironmen taking on the Glen Ridge Ridgers today in New Jersey State Boys Lacrosse here in NJ.ORG Varsity. Don Bosco with a 6-4 lead here as you start the fourth quarter, and Jack DePhillips winning the face-off for Glen Ridge. They bring it in quickly, trying for an early goal. Great shot there by number 25, Ryan D'Alessandro, but a great save as well by Kieran McCullough, as he would not let that ball find the net. Now D'Alessandro trying once again to find an open spot for a shot here. Instead gives it up to Matt Larkin. Larkin to Jackson Kinley. As I mentioned, Kinley, the captain of this team, a senior midfielder, heading to the University of Michigan to play the college lacrosse after the season. Kinley working it around. Good defense, tight defense there by number 11, Michael Stappert. Now Kinley passing it off to number 18, Jake Schwern. The junior trying to fight past Greg Pandice, but cannot. Here is O'Neill with it. Number 8, O'Neill to number 9, Larkin. Glen Ridge trying to cut into that 2-goal deficit here in the fourth quarter. Good defense there by John Andrew Spellanzani. And now the ball back to the top to D'Alessandro. Now behind the net to DePhillips, but the ball stolen by Mike D'Alessandro. A great defensive play by D'Alessandro. He brings it up, trying to clear it, loses the ball, and it will roll out of bounds to Glen Ridge. Good checking there by two Glen Ridge players, D'Alessandro, and Jake Schwern. D'Alessandro with it, loses it, and gets planted into the turf by Mike D'Alessandro. And a holding call now allows Glen Ridge to maintain possession. Jackson Kinley with it. Glen Ridge trying to avoid falling to 0-2. As I mentioned, they already lost their first game this season, falling against Bergen Catholic. Oh, great move there by Kinley. Fires it into the net for a goal. And just like that, we're back to a 1-goal game. Great move there by Jackson Kinley and a great shot. A great all-around play shows you why this man's going to play Division I college lacrosse. And the score is now 6-5. So Kinley, the 5th different player to score for Glen Ridge today. And they only have 5 goals. So no one in Glen Ridge has more than 1 goal today. And now here comes the critical face-off. Won by John Andrew Spellanzani as he beat number 7, Patty McDermott, the sophomore, on that one. Spellanzani defended by Brandon Haynes. Now gives it up to number 28, Thomas Joyce. Spellanzani with it again. Glen Ridge playing a tight defense around their goaltender. They don't want this lead to go back down to 2. They want to make sure they have a shot to tie this game as we wind down here in the fourth quarter. Still early, though, in the fourth quarter right now. Don Bosco working it around. Gall gives it up to Russell Massey. Massey, sophomore midi. And now Gall with it again. Gall fighting past Michael Fano. Now gives it up. Don Bosco working it around to number 12, Connor Carroll. Carroll trying to find a room, but Chris Bronander wouldn't let him get an open shot. O'Sullivan now with it behind the net. Defended by Marcus Cunningham. O'Sullivan racing around Cunningham. Nice spin move, but good defense by Cunningham, as he uses his body in that long stick to keep O'Sullivan away from the goal. Spellanzani trying to find a lane, but good defense again, this time by Michael Fano. And Don Bosco keeps working it around. 6-5, Don Bosco leads, trying to increase that lead here. Brooks Rubino, defended by Jack Topping. And the junior defenseman will not let Rubino get an open lane or an opportunity to score. Now Gall, defended by McDermott, gets past the check, but then good backup defense by Brandon Haynes. Ball loose, but Spellanzani picks it up. Defended by Haynes way out there. Good defense by Brandon Haynes here. And Spellanzani just forced to pass it off and eventually comes behind the net to Brooks Rubino. Rubino to Carroll. Carroll to Gall. As I mentioned, Gall, a senior heading to Hamilton College after the season. Rubino, excuse me, that's Russell Massey, defended by McDermott. Massey, also a sophomore. Don Bosco taking their time here, and that's one thing that's on their side is time. They have the lead here. They're in no hurry to try and score this. They want to A, score, and B, take as much time as possible so that if they have a 2-goal lead, Glen Ridge has as little time as possible to respond. Massey can't find anything. Good defense there on McDermott. And now here's Gall, defended by number 14, Michael Fauno. Fauno, the sophomore, lets Gall get by him. Now Don Bosco working it around as they are getting closer and closer, it seems, to that Glen Ridge net. Cunningham now. Good defense. Now the ball comes to O'Sullivan. O'Sullivan, a nice move, but didn't get enough distance between him and Fauno to have an opportunity to score. Time ticking away here on Glen Ridge. They need a stop. Great move by Sullivan, but we get a stoppage. And Glen Ridge is awarded possession. And that's the break Glen Ridge needed right there, down by a single goal. They have an opportunity to tie the game as Marcus Cunningham brings it up. Cunningham, as I mentioned, the senior, committing to play college lacrosse at Syracuse. Tossed up to Larkin. Larkin, bring it on. Trying to get past Alessandro, but good defense by the senior midi. Here is Jackson Kinley, the captain of this Glen Ridge team, and he gives it to Jack DePhillips, their senior midi, their main face-off man here, and DePhillips and Kinley seemingly playing a game of catch here. Now Kinley trying to find an open space, but can't, gives it to O'Neill. O'Neill defended by D'Alessandro, back to the top to, near back to the top to Cunningham, fires it and finds the net, and we have a tie game. A great shot by Jack DePhillips, finds Twine, beats Kieran McCullough, and we are even at 6 here in the fourth quarter. And in a game that came in billed as a competition between two of the best lacrosse teams in the state of New Jersey, it has absolutely lived up to the hype. DePhillips, the first player for Glen Ridge to score twice today. We are even at 6 here in the fourth quarter. DePhillips now facing off with Spallanzani in a critical face-off here. Ball pops loose, almost grabbed by D'Alessandro, comes loose, checked by DePhillips, the ball still loose, Both teams fighting for it and eventually picked up by Scott McConnell. We get a whistle though. And that is a timeout for Don Bosco Prep. So Don Bosco finally getting possession and then calling timeout in an effort to maintain possession. Easy for me to say. In a critical point in this game, a critical juncture here for both of these teams. We are even at 6 here in the fourth quarter as you're watching New Jersey Boys Lacrosse on NJ.com Varsity. The Glen Ridge Ridgers, preseason number 10, according to NJ.com, against the Don Bosco Prep Ironmen, number 13 preseason ranking, according to NJ.com. And both teams have played like it today. We are even at 6 here, about midway through the fourth quarter. You have to forgive me for not being able to give you a more accurate estimate. We don't have a working scoreboard here at Charles I. Granatel Athletic Stadium, so I'm just trying to ballpark it, I guess you could say. But we are even at 6, that much I do know. And now both teams out of the timeout, ready to go. And Don Bosco will start out with the ball. Greg Pandice. Pandice, the senior defenseman, defended by Kevin O'Neill. Don Bosco trying to work it up to get into a position to score on an offensive possession with as little time for Glen Ridge to respond as possible. And here is that man, Riley O'Sullivan. O'Sullivan and Spallanzani, number 4, have been the two most dangerous Don Bosco players today, each with multiple goals. Sullivan with 2, Spallanzani with 3. A critical possession as we wind down here in the fourth quarter of this game. Tied at 6. Don Bosco trying to avenge their 9-7 loss last year at Glen Ridge. And now here comes Brooks Rubino, gets it back to the top to O'Sullivan. Defended by Brandon Haynes. Sullivan racing towards the goal, gets by Haynes, but good defense there. Now he fires it towards the net, save by Connor Duffin. A great save by Duffin preventing the goal, and now fighting for the ball is Marcus Cunningham. We get a stoppage, and a flag is down, and that will be a penalty on Don Bosco. And that is a 1-minute foul. So that means Glen Ridge will be up a man. The foul on John Andrew Spallanzani, it appears. Glen Ridge will be up a man for a full minute in this critical fourth quarter with a chance to take a 7-6 lead. And look for D'Alessandro, DePhillips, or Jackson Killing to be the main man on this attack. Schwerin now gives it up. Now it's Larkin. Schwerin again. DePhillips. Back to Schwerin. Larkin now. D'Alessandro. Back to Larkin. Back to Schwerin. Working it around quickly, trying to find open space. O'Neill to Schwerin. Fires it over the net. And out of play. But Glen Ridge, it appears, will maintain possession as D'Alessandro picks it up. Schwerin's shot was a little bit high. But Glen Ridge maintains possession as the penalty still has a few seconds left on it. Firing towards the net is DePhillips, and a great save by Kieran McCullough. But the ball loose now, picked up by Pandice. Pandice able to maintain possession through a couple of checks, brings it up into the offensive zone. Now Don Bosco trying to capitalize. A great check there by Brandon Haynes, but it comes right to O'Sullivan. O'Sullivan racing around, trying to find an open spot. And when I say this game lived up to the hype, I'm not sure I'm selling it enough. This game has, if anything, exceeded the hype. Two evenly matched teams have been fighting all day. There has not been one moment where this game hasn't been competitive, where both of these teams haven't been on their A game. And here comes Spallanzani. Spallanzani, a bad pass, but it comes to goal. He fires it. Great save, though, by Connor Duffis. A game-saving save there by Connor Duffis, possibly. And he passes it up to Michael Salvatelli, the senior defenseman, bring it on. Now gives it to D'Alessandro. D'Alessandro thought about a shot, but decided against it. It's tied at 6 here, late in the fourth quarter. D'Alessandro being defended by number 32, Dan Johnson. A great check. The ball comes free. A scrum for it, picked up, though, by Don Bosco. Nice play by Chris Relkoff, the senior heading to DeSales University. Now it comes to Jackson Kinley. Pass in front of the net to D'Alessandro, but broken up again. Another great play by Chris Relkoff. And we get a whistle, a timeout for Don Bosco Prep. And this game winding down into the nitty-gritty here in the fourth quarter. Still even at 6. We got here via a goal by Jack DePhillips, his second of the game, which evened it at 6. Don Bosco had a 6-4 lead, but a goal from Jackson Kinley and DePhillips, the second goal of the game, tied it up at 6 apiece. And both teams have had opportunities to score here and give themselves the late edge. But the defense of both teams has been up to the task on both sides of the field. Now Don Bosco Prep calling another timeout, trying to get their offense set up for one last attack here in the final moments of the game. We are very close to going to overtime here today in this 6-6 tie. Don Bosco got on the board first today. They goal from Riley O'Sullivan. But Glen Ridge responded with goals from Kevin O'Neill and Matt Larkin to take a 2-1 lead. But Don Bosco got back into it with a goal by Gall and another goal by O'Sullivan to take the lead. And when John Andrew Spallanzani tacked on his first goal of the game, it was 4-2 Don Bosco. After that, Don Bosco maintained a couple two-goal leads. They led 5-3, then led 6-4. before those last two Glen Ridge goals tied the game and put us at the spot we're currently in. And both teams back out onto the field for what may be the final possession of regulation. Dan Johnson will start off with it. Johnson has committed to play lacrosse next year at St. Michael College. Another one of these Don Bosco prep players will be playing college lacrosse in the future, whether it be next year or in a couple of years, as is the case with Riley O'Sullivan. Johnson now with it again. Don Bosco looking to clear, but they want to be careful. They don't want to turn over right here. Joyce now bringing it in, defended by Michael Salvatelli. Joyce bringing it up. Now here is Russell Mashi. Spellanzani already has 3 goals, and O'Sullivan already has 2. Both of them looking to add to their total, and so is Jack Gall, who already has 1. Connor Duff is in goal for Glen Ridge. Has done an outstanding job today, made several spectacular saves, including one just a minute ago. And Glen just hoping he doesn't have to make another one here. But Don Bosco sure is putting the pressure on right now. Gall with it. Defended by Michael Salvatelli, the senior defenseman. Goal looks like he has an inside track. Salvatelli trying to check him away from the goal. Now spins back, looking for a shot. Spins back to his left, looking, firing, but it's blocked. Picked up now by Jackson Kinley, gives it to Duffus. Time ticking away here in the fourth quarter. Another defensive stand, this one by Glen Ridge. Both teams have made several outstanding defensive plays since the game got tied. Now a nice defensive play by Connor Carroll. The ball rolling around, still loose. 3 Glen Ridge players fighting for it. The whistle blows, and the officials awarding possession to Don Bosco. And the prep here, and the crowd here is on its feet. Bringing it in is O'Sullivan. Trying to work past. Good check him. Get a flag down. A pass in the zone just over the head of Carroll. And here comes the call. O'Sullivan drew a penalty. And this will give Don Bosco Prep a man up. A push call, it appears, on number 21, Brendan Haynes. The senior midi has played well today. Or no, excuse me. Waiting to see exactly who the man is in the box. And it appears it's number 24, Jackson Kinley. But let's see. It looked like Haynes was the one jogging with the official. But regardless, it is a penalty on an infraction against Glen Ridge that will give Don Bosco a man-up opportunity for at least 30 seconds. We are here at Charles I. Granatell Athletic Stadium on the campus of Don Bosco Prep High School. You're watching New Jersey State Boys Lacrosse, High School Lacrosse on NJ.ORG Varsity. Even at 6 here, late in the fourth quarter, Glen Ridge having just received a penalty. And they will be playing a man down. Both teams have already made several outstanding defensive stops. We've been tied at 6-6 here ever since Jack DePhillips found the net with a shot midway through the fourth quarter. And both teams, the game since then has consisted of just defensive stop after defensive stop, fantastic save after fantastic save, to keep this game at where it is. Once again, I apologize. There's no clock here working at Don Bosco Prep. So I'm unaware of exactly how much time we have left until we hit overtime, but it can't be very long. But for Glen Ridge right now, being down a man, every second will seem like a lifetime. On the defensive side for Glen Ridge right now, we have number 88, Cam Gilmore, along with number 12, Michael Salvatelli, number 23, Chris Bronander, number 28, Marcus Cunningham, and number 16, Jack Topping, along with, of course, their goalie, Connor Duffus. Working it behind the net, Rubino, Mashi, Spellanzani, defended by Bronander. Massey to Carroll. Now hits Rubino. O'Sullivan and Spellanzani have been the two main threats for Don Bosco today. Let's see if they try and get them the ball for the score here. Spellanzani asking for the ball. Now heads in the middle to try and find an open spot. Carroll. Glen Ridge defender's not going behind the net. Now pass in front to Gall. Gall bounces it and it goes past the net and will roll out of bounds. Possession still goes to Don Bosco. Glen Ridge's defender's not venturing behind the net to press the Don Bosco players behind the net. They're simply standing by it and hoping to keep them far enough away from that they don't shoot the ball. Now the ball bouncing around just misses Spallanzani's stick. Both players fighting for it. We get a whistle. And that is the end of the fourth quarter. We are heading to overtime here at Charles A. Granatile Athletic Stadium with the score tied. Don Bosco 6, Glen Ridge 6. And we'll be back here with you in just a moment for the overtime period.
Well, we're only contracted for 4 quarters, so.
All right, let's get out of here.
I'm enjoying it from what I can enjoy. So how's the overtime work?
Sudden death.
Good.
Welcome back to Charles I. Granatile Athletic Stadium as Don Bosco Prep and Glen Ridge we're prepared to start overtime in this 6-6 matchup. DePhillips will take the face-off against John Andrew Spallanzani. The ball is down, it is loose, and DePhillips picks it up and he's racing towards Don Bosco's goal. We get a whistle